Okay, welcome. Christina Merkley here. It's August 23rd, process pop-up. A bit of a snafu with the reminders, so apologies for anybody who might be listening to the recording. Hopefully you found your way here. We may have some who come, but we have a couple who had the link from the original email that goes out several days ago. So yay, we got a couple of you, and I'm just trusting the process. This is unfolding as it should, so apparently I'm joking that some people want to get on the hot seat here apparently because we'll have less people to choose from. I'm going to flash on the screen just to do our setup here, which helps us build the container and create a space here and an understanding about what's going on for us all. So give me one sec as I move my screens around so you can see that. So you should be seeing a graphic map called Meeting Startup. See some nods? Yep. Okay, so these have been going since the start of the pandemic, at least when it swept across North America, since the middle of March. And every 7 to 10 days or so, I've been offering these free process pop-ups to help people emotionally and mentally cope with what's going on. So agenda-wise, it's support during these transformative times, and also just come as you are. It's okay. So, I may or may not share. Often I have in other process pop-ups something called the emotional scale, right? Which is the whole range of human emotions. And so when I say come as you are, you may be down in the dumps in terms of lower places of sadness, grief, anger, etc. You may be kind of midpoint where it's worry or frustration. And you may be kind of up higher, up in a pretty satisfied place, right? Where we can actually tap into some wonderful things like visioning. So anyway, come as you are. All of it is good. All of it is up for processing. It's inner work assistance. This is an ongoing online community. It's all about personal growth. Agenda, it's co-created. It's different every time. Different people show up. Different things are going on in the world. How you and your nervous system is responding to those things changes, right? So I'm different every time I show up. So we'll see what it is today. As I mentioned, the process groups page, which Pat has put the link into the chat function, there's several different visual tools. Sometimes I use the tools that I've shared publicly. I went through and cherry picked out the ones that I thought would be best for this emergent situation, and I've added a few over the months too. But sometimes other things happen. So I have 40 plus visual tools, being a process person, that I've created over the years, and I'll pull from my kit if I need to, depending on what emerges from those of you who are present here. Roles, myself, I'm the host. I'm a facilitator, a visual coach, pioneering in that realm. Also, more and more a non-dual oneness practitioner. I have a whole, like I mentioned, process toolkit full of tools to use. And I also have something called Kundalini Unfoldment. I went through a rising with Kundalini 10 years ago that continues to happen. And occasionally, some people know what that is. It's not yoga. I'll happily explain it. You can go to my site. There's some articles on it, but sometimes it shows. You might occasionally see my hands do different things, and that will be sometimes energetics running through my system. Norms, ways to be. Welcome, Connie. Apologies about the goof with the link today. We're just doing a quick startup, and you're well aware of this. Norms. Inhabit your own experience. Just be yourself. And when you're speaking, I invite you to use I statements as opposed to generalities like everybody must feel this, because sometimes there might be something where everybody feels it, but generally there's a mix. So I will pop up at times and invite people to use I statements, and it just shifts the dynamics when someone comes from an I place as opposed to a you, which is normally more intellectual. This is there's lots of different sharing that happens. People can be in very different places, belief system wise, politically, metaphysically, faith-based wise. I'm very comfortable with a whole range of diversity in many different ways. So I invite you to critique concepts, not people, because different concepts may show up. We've already talked about the recording and the naming. This is also about spotting your conditioning, right? This is processing. So this is about understanding more about ourselves, and often a place of spotting your conditioning is when you get triggered or charged. And what's going on in 2020 has certainly given us plenty to get triggered and charged by, and there's a real opportunity when that's happening to do one's own inner work and get curious about what that's about. Doesn't mean that what you're getting triggered and charged by shouldn't be changing or being addressed, but you can, when you do your inner work, come at it with a different energy as opposed to being all riled up about something. Orphans and bodyguards. So talking about charges and triggers, it helps to talk about orphans and bodyguards. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes in the process group, especially when we get into check-ins and we hear what's going on for people, depending on what people are sharing and depending on what's going on in your life, if you are particularly hooked by something, my language for that is an orphan. So there's usually roots. If something in the present is upsetting, there's the present situation can have its upset, of course. But if there's an elevated sense of that, usually there's roots earlier on in life. So it could go back to childhood, it could go back to adolescence, it could go back to last week, right? You can have orphans at lots of different stages. If you're a metaphysical person or somebody who really taps in empathically, you can also feel things for the collective and feel things for other aspects of yourselves. A common word for that is past lives. I personally think they're parallel lives, but we'll leave that practical energy work. So orphans and then bodyguards. Orphans are the vulnerable, usually the younger aspects of ourselves, and they hold the more vulnerable feelings. We can have protectors, and those are the aspects of ourselves that protect our vulnerability. That's what can happen in a process group, is you have protectors kind of duking it out, because both people's sweet little vulnerable selves, right, they've got some protection around them. So this is just bringing some shared language to what's going on and normalizing it, and often it neutralizes it just by kind of referencing and talking about it at the beginning. And I have a lot of different processes that can help to work with this stuff. What else? Other terminology here. This is just different ways of thinking about the same thing, but moving from the trauma field into the generative field, right? Getting ourselves from our trauma places, again, usually the younger parts of ourselves, or even our lineage, you know, our families, our tribes, right? And moving that into the adult, into the healthy, into the stabilized kind of place, and coming from that energy, dealing with 2020, dealing with anything that might be challenging in your life from the generative field as opposed to the triggered trauma field. Okay, so that's a quick kind of run through of setting the scene for what this tends to be about. This is number 18, I believe, if I've got the number right. And there's a whole wealth of amazing things that have happened over the time. So we will see what is going to emerge today. So I'm just going to stop that. Gives us a little preamble, and then we'll just pass around the mic. You don't need to check in if you don't care to, but it's nice to, if you feel comfortable to do so. Name, geography, and then anything that's up for you, right? If you let me know what's up and you're open to processing it, that's how we find our agenda. So I just kind of listen to what the check-in, who you are today, what's coming forth, and then we just find our way through the things that people have brought forth about what we'll process today. And we'll just do this popcorn style, so whoever wants to go, you can just unmute yourself and we'll do a check-in.
Okay, I can go. My name is Sama. Most of the people call me Sam. I work with teams as a coach, so my official title is a coach. Currently I live in Michigan, USA. I am originally from Egypt, and I probably will make my move back there for some personal reasons this year. And I work with teams most of the time. I'm not a doer anymore, and we work toward primarily solving the business problems. Mm-hmm. And we use visual templates, we use collaborative techniques. That's it. Thank you again for inviting us.
Yeah, very welcome. IT and Scrum, is that your area or others?
I would say yes, but primarily I do coaching, and these are more like tools
Mm-hmm.
and props which we use.
Great. So
Thank you.
business coaching. Yeah, this is going to be more usually on the
I,
life side of it, but we get a lot of organizational stuff here too.
excuse me, rather than business coaching, maybe I suggest to call it process coach or team coach
Mm-hmm.
or delivery coach, something like that. But I'm not working with executives.
Got ya. Yep. Right there in the field. Okay. Thanks, Sam. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
I can go. I'm Kristin. I'm in Victoria, not far down the road from where Christina is. A little bit farther now that you've moved, I guess. And I'm in a good place. I'm a teacher, and I'm gearing up to go back to school. So I'm not a classroom teacher. I'm a district resource teacher, and yeah, I'm really excited to go back to see my colleagues, and I'm pleased that I'm really seeing the opportunity that we have right now, especially with young people, as far as modeling what we do in a crisis and when life is unexpected. That just, I mean, these are the lessons that these kids will take with them much longer in life than, I mean, yeah, the math and reading, all that's really important, but I keep coming back to how important it is that they're watching us right now. And that's what they're learning. So I'm really excited about that. And also in my role, I'm excited to maybe be a little bit of that person for my colleagues, because my work is mostly with adults. And my only kind of hesitation and a little bit of niggling is hoping that I can keep that, because I'm aware that obviously I'm going to be meeting a lot of big emotion. So wanting to be able to hold space for other people's emotions without it taking a toll on my optimism and my well-being. Like, just navigating that is kind of the only thing that's on the kind of niggling in the back of my mind. But I'm feeling really pleased that I'm with the team I've been with for a long time, and I know that my immediate team will be they'll just be amazing. So,
and you guys are the kids are coming in, right? So you'll be in person. And when does that happen? Is it pushed out a bit, or is it?
There's a few days there. I actually truthfully have ignored all emails believing that they will change so drastically as they do, and thinking that every email that gets opened triggers a little bit of anxiety. So I'm just like, a week before going to open the emails, because I've already heard just trickle down of like, oh, that's changed already, and that's changed. I'm like, okay, it was a good move to stop reading everything for a while, because we go back on the 7th. And so I know there's been a little bit of time, 7th or 8th or something, a little bit of time for planning now, which I really am pleased about, because that certainly shows a respect for the educators that need to adjust. And then again, that modeling, I believe that it will change multiple times through this next school year. And so I just, the truth keeps coming back to me about this year will be so significant for so many young people, and they will take these lessons with them. So
yeah, you think about the orphan rescues, right? Like what's getting patterned and conditioned right now. Yeah.
So yeah, that I this week really noticing how I'm seeing it as an opportunity and how good that feels, and so wanting to keep that, find ways to take care of myself that I'm able to keep that with me.
So fits in with the spirit of what you're about, Kristin, and what you've been bringing to the table all the way along. Is in a way it's expanding it, right? It's kind of an opportunity for that to go beyond the accessibility kind of niche that you've been in. Yeah. And it also reminds me, like Connie, is some of that we're like holding space, right? We were able to hold some space for you so you could go in and hold space for others. And I'm hearing a similar theme here with you, Kristin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Hi. Oh, hi. It's Connie. And I guess, I'm sort of focused today on the sort of calming the chaos. And it's funny because my metaphor for calming the chaos is actually my house. And normally I'm traveling all the time. I'm traveling all the time. So I sort of have complete forgiveness for the condition of my house. But I laugh because I go to bed thinking that things are calm and normal. And then I wake up and I'm like, how could you think this chaos is calm and normal? So being in this space means that I have to try to make it more functional, because I'm going to be probably in my home working for the rest of my career, right? I've made a declaration they can burn my or take my building down. I have to nest in here. And I look at the background of Kristin and I go, visually, that's what I'm working toward.
Yeah.
But, and so I tell myself all day that I'm making progress towards working towards that. And then I wake up and think, what are these scraps of paper doing here? What's this dirty coffee cup from 3 days ago? What's going on in my life? So I keep buying little gadgets that I think will help me get closer to where and the last is I just bought the big new Roomba. And I get delight like going to bed and telling Roomba to go clean the family room. But it's still honestly not dealing with the chaos that's really underneath that, which is in here, you know, in my heart and in my space. So anyway, that's sort of what I'm bringing today.
Yeah, the external mirroring that internal. For me as a coach, maybe some of the others of you who work with individuals, when I start seeing people do stuff with their space, that's fascinating to me, because I know they're getting ready for the next order of thing to emerge, right? When the decluttering or whatever it is that's happening. One woman I worked with, she totally revamped in the course of a week. She actually retired, so she finally did it when she retired. And she comes back and boom, I'm like, where are you? Oh, I'm in the same space. I just redid it. I'm like, that's amazing. I mean, she totally redid it. Yeah. So it's exciting, you know, even though I know it's not it's not like kaboom, but it's like it's in process. And the chaos has been an ongoing theme, understandably, right? So given all that you're holding in the world. So, okay. Thank you, Connie.
If I can just throw in a shout out here. This is a direct result of a Shift It coaching with Christina, and it was a year-long process, and I had wanted to do it so many times in my life, and it wasn't until the Shift It online so I was very pleased. So I have to say, thank you, Christina.
Should take a screenshot. There's a testimonial.
It still delights me. and just in the spirit of vulnerability, if the camera were the other way, it's not quite as impressive, but I can come back to this. So just to be honest.
Obtainable, Connie, obtainable. One side of the room.
And I'm Barb, and I'm coming here very lost. I have been expecting a pandemic for years, so that part wasn't shocking. But I really retreated to caretaking for my family, and then got quite depressed. And I'm only just coming out of that depression and wanting to take care of myself and feeling quite lost about that.
Where are you geographically, Barb?
DC. Well, not technically DC, just north of the city. Part of why I'm lost is because we moved December 30th from Bethesda, which is right on the district line, to Kensington, which is a little further away. So, you know.
That's an intense area where you are. Wow. And family, children, older family members, spouse? Yeah.
My parents, part of why we moved is that I'm closer to my parents, so that my father's 89 and my mom's 86.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
You know, when they moved to where they're living, it was about a 10 or 15 minute drive, but traffic got so bad that it became a half-hour drive. And I decided, you know, okay, I'm moving. So we're closer to my parents. Then my adult kids, 28 and 24, live with me. My 28-year-old is not quite developmentally disabled, but definitely not as, definitely not too sharp. And my 24-year-old had neurologic Lyme and has
Oh, wow.
been recovering for, well, the whole process has been about 9 years. And I would say just in the last 2 months have we seen really kind of the last stages of, I feel like he can take care of himself. He doesn't quite feel that, but he's doing things that show me that some of the things that he couldn't do before, he can do now.
Did you guys have to go through the whole discovery of finding out what the heck it was and then treatments?
No, I'm
No.
curious. We saw the bullseye rash right away. He got his antibiotics right away. And then a month later, he had a headache. And I called the pediatrician and I said, you didn't get the Lyme. He has a headache. He's never had a headache before. We were sent right away to a top neurologist at Children's Hospital because I'm a very good networker in that way. And the neurologist was like, oh no, this is a migraine. Didn't he have stomach aches as a kid? Young kids show migraines different than. And it turned out after a long time, my son explained that, well, there are like 3 headaches. And yes, migraine is one of them. But so for the longest time, it was a migraine. For the longest time, it was psychiatric because any doctor who doesn't have an answer, it's always in the head. And then finally, he had it, he went off to college and had an experience where his heart was racing and they said, oh, no, that's just anxiety. And he called me up, he said, I don't know where I am right now. I'm in the grocery store, but I don't know how to get back to the school. And I thought, okay, I'm coming and getting you. And I went up and I got him and brought him back home. And I called my friend at NIH and I said, what am I supposed to do? And he hooked me up with one of 2 national experts that are academic in Lyme. And
so you guys went through a real journey with it. I hear that time and time again. Yeah.
Oh my God. And the guy said, I don't take patients. And I said, well, what should I do? And he gave me some advice. And then about 2 months after I picked up my son was ready to kill himself, literally. And I wrote the best email of my life and I convinced this guy to take my son and he did. And he gave my son intravenous. And I mean, from the first 2 weeks of that, my son had not been capable of even getting a full sentence out. He was so, his brain was so affected. And for the longest time, the school had been saying, oh, that's just learning disabilities. But he literally couldn't produce a sentence. And within 2 weeks, he was able to speak. But that was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. And there was so much damage. So at this point, I mean, some of the damage is the drugs that they had to give him. Some of the damage is from the Lyme itself. It's just been a long.
I'm so sorry, Barb. That's so hard for everybody. Oh my goodness. Whew.
Yeah. It's my expression always is everybody gets their own life. It's not what I had planned.
We'll probably do some inquiry, which is one of my favorite processes lately, because we meet everything, right? And we welcome it. So I just hear the sorrow, the frustration, the drawn out process, the bungling of medical system, right? Like all of it. So tapping sometimes comes up. I don't know how many of you are familiar. Those of you who've been around my stuff are, but just I'm feeling compelled to taps away that with the meridians in the body system. There's lots of different tapping methods, but it's a way of just helping process stuff. And it's usually, I tap with the head, the heart, and the gut. Anyway, just to the head and the heart and the gut of just tapping through that. That's a lot. I'm going to come back to you. I'm not going to enter into it right now. I think I want to enter in with Kristin and potentially Connie because both of you have some familiarity with inquiry. And I think, Barb, that'll kind of maybe be training wheels a little bit as you watch me work with them. And then also, and for everybody, but Sam, you too, just letting the sentences that happen in the inquiry, just let them wash over you. And it'll interact with each of us in different ways. Sometimes it's very powerful when you see somebody process, you might have something very similar to them. Other times you can be the complete opposite and don't have any entry point. Given most of us are process professionals too, that analytical part of ourself can be watching what I'm doing and checking out the visuals and what is she doing process wise, right? So there's a lot that can be happening all at once. So I think I'm just ready. I'm feeling the let's go to Kristin, let's go to Connie, let's come back to Barb after that's happened and see. Okay, we're off and running. Now, Kristin, I could do inquiry with you, but I'm also feeling some visioning because I'm feeling you in a way quite high up that emotional scale, right? Where you're talking about the optimism. And when we're up in the higher place in the scale, that usually gets us pretty easy entry into visioning and talking about wouldn't it be nice if, right? So, which is a way of pre-paving things. So I'm kind of thinking maybe some wouldn't it be nice if with you. How's that feel to you?
Yeah, that feels spot on because I was noticing the last few days, even though I said I'm not thinking about work, work has been seeping into my brain, but it's very pleasantly all these what ifs. It's like, oh. So
there's the latest example. I also do these free recorded sessions for individuals. By the way, if I don't get to people or if you're wanting more individual time and you're okay with it being recorded, Pat, if you haven't already, can you stick that in the link in the chat? I bring it up because I did a wouldn't it be nice if, and the last one that's been posted onto my site and onto my YouTube is a wouldn't it be nice if with a woman who was unemployed, right, had lost her job and laid off. And you can see it's nice in social media, she's been responding, Jackie, right? Because she had a beautiful turnaround with it. And it was, wouldn't it be nice, it would be easy and smooth and it'll be close to home. And wouldn't you know, a recruiter found her and it's close to home and she can bring her dog, like all this stuff that was beautifully in the wouldn't it be nice if. So anyway, we're gonna do the same one with you. So I'm just gonna bring it up. And then you'll be able to swing back some other time and tell me how this goes, right, as you work with the fall. So this is a onesie, everybody. This comes from the Abraham-HIcks material. My number one recommendation for them, I went through a huge phase with Abraham-HIcks about 10 years ago, and I continue to swing back to them. They, by the way, are running online stuff during 2020. They've changed their formats in different ways. I've popped into it. I watched it for about 3 months there through COVID. Always helpful. So anyway, asking it as given is my number one recommendation if you're starting with their material. The first part is concepts, kind of conceptual stuff about understanding their take on things. And then the other half is processes, right? There's 21 processes in the book. So I've taken the liberty, I've written into them, wouldn't it be nice if, of putting a template around it. And it's a onesie. So all we're going to have you do is just answer this, complete the sentence, right? And let's get the situation articulated down at the bottom. I know it's, around the school year, right? Maybe this fall semester. How do you want to define the situation, Kristin?
Yeah, can it be as simple as the 2021 school year?
Totally. Simple's good. Nice and clear for the subconscious. Good. 2021 school year. Okay. So what do you want for this? For you going in there in the midst of this swirl and this remarkable time with your colleagues and your teams and your students and the community and parents and everything that you amazing educators do.
Wouldn't it be nice if our team stayed strong and positive throughout this school year.
Okay, good. Oops, let's get this right. So let's make your team in here. And they're strong and they're positive. What else?
Wouldn't it be nice if we built learning communities that continued on past this year?
Tell me about learning communities. What's that mean?
So groups of our staff that are keen and enthusiastic to learn more, to improve their practice, to support each other.
Okay, so you're meaning specifically these team who's strong and positive, and they're really working and operating as learning communities.
Well, the first team is my immediate team out of the district office and the learning community. So I'm very fortunate. My job is professional learning opportunities. So creating within the whole district different communities of people. So last year we worked a lot on educational assistants, giving them opportunities, and it was so amazing to see them come together and them excited, and so wanting to expand that and to
So talk about the Emmy words, which is if you're going to feel into these learning communities, what's the essence of them? What do they feel like? What's the state that they're in? Wouldn't it be nice if?
open.
Yep.
And I guess, is it collegial maybe? Like I'm wanting to see that it's not just me doing something and offering something, but that they're supporting each other and they're learning from each other. So yeah, almost a sense of family, almost like we're here for each other.
Nice.
And enthusiasm. And optimism.
Beautiful. Let's get that in here. Enthusiasm.
And joyful.
Good energetics in there. You can feel underneath those words what the essence is. Okay, good. So reach back in there. And what else? Wouldn't it be nice if?
Wouldn't it be nice if the district supported my own learning about how to deliver learning opportunities online? And wouldn't it be nice if they bought me a nice big tablet like you have? And I learned how to use it, and I'm able to do some visual facilitating in the district online.
Excellent. And give me the essence of, if you drill down to that, you got this delicious, yummy, big old tablet and you're doing your thing. What does that allow you to do? What does that bring into your life?
Confidence, contribution, and accessibility. Our district is, it's interesting that just before COVID started affecting our schools, our immediate, very small team had a mini retreat to plan for this next school year. And we identified barriers as meeting room space and parking, and money always comes up, but meeting room space and parking were huge. They were like, it's so, and then you add on top of that, arranging snacks. It's like, these things are so mundane, and yet they have such an impact on our work. And I was talking to my principal after we were going completely online, I thought, well, that removes the barrier of meeting space and parking
Yeah.
immediately. Maybe we need to be careful what we wish for. But
Mhm.
like, so the end of last school year, I was able to access so many more people. And still, and again, I always come back, Christina, it was to your modeling that. It's like, I have seen someone build really beautiful communities online, and it gave me such hope and that vision of it's doable. And without that, I would have been like, no, there's no way. And yet just having a taste of that, of these people showing up every week in a Zoom format and connecting with each other. And so I just thought, I want to keep that going, because schools end at all different times and people have kids and other jobs. And so if we can have it online, they can do it from the comfort of their home. And then they, I haven't gotten into the recording yet, but I can see that being a benefit, like going into that, so that, well, you missed it, here's the recording. So I really am excited that people saw that they could do online. And there were so many people that I know, if it weren't for the pandemic, would have been saying, no,
Would never.
I
Yeah.
can't do online. And so now I want to gain that momentum that Sarah's like, okay, let's keep going. People have seen that they can do it. They've got over this hurdle, and it was a hurdle in another way anyway. And so just the opportunity of that we collectively have a different skill set, and I want to move forward with that. And so I feel like I was well positioned for that, having done, and people had seen me at the wall with paper, and so they also had that bit of education. So now it's just switching to, okay, we can do that same thing
Different
on a
medium.
tablet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm excited about all that.
Cool.
And then another, wouldn't it be nice, and it's on the kind of almost the opposite end, but it's that building community and really wanting to that wellness, like, and the joy and creativity, feed people's soul that's not heavy. I really want to try to do a creative collaboration with people in our district, and I'm thinking it would be like an artist card trading thing, where it's just something's coming in the district mail that's uplifting and exciting, and that, because there's a whole bunch of creative people, and for me that's been the biggest blessing, is that I channeled all my energy into, okay, what can I create to offer the world at this point, just to give a little, maybe even if it's just one smile for the day. And so I see people drawn to that already, and so wanting to expand that just within our district, I think that would be, I just, and I had thought about it in past years and never moved forward with it, and I feel like it's the time.
Well, it builds off of what you've been doing with your doodle a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Good.
Yeah, so that's already, I see a community coming around then, because it's so funny, like the people that reach out, it's like, I wait for this every day. It's like, you do? Like, this was my own, this was for me, and yet the contribution. And so wanting to kind of invite other people into that.
Very good. Those have been around, Kristin, have seen this unfold out of, I think, one of these, or a shifted e-community, right? So
December
yeah.
19th, every day since.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a visit to my future self with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get future self in here. Okay, reach in. What else? Wouldn't it be nice if, go for the gnarly stuff. Go for the stuff that you're maybe afraid of, or when you look at those emails and you're kind of like, I don't really want to look at that yet. So
wouldn't it be nice if I were comfortable holding space or meeting, caring? Wouldn't it be nice if I was comfortable caring for hurting staff who are really feeling pessimistic?
okay, so you got some pessimistic folks. So what is your, wouldn't it be nice if, for those pessimistic folks?
Wouldn't it be nice if they felt safe with me?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be nice if they didn't take my optimism as judgment?
So if they're not taking it as judgment, what do they take it as?
Wouldn't it be nice if they...
You're not being judging, you're being...
Wouldn't it be nice if they felt my compassion?
Mm.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if they knew how much I cared?
Mm. And when people feel that caring and they feel that compassion, what happens? Wouldn't it be nice? And they have that support.
If they were open to our support.
Okay, open to it. Yep.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if they welcomed self-compassion into their lives?
Other words I'm hearing, like I just feel in my system, right? Kind of like the softening or the, back to what I was saying earlier about bodyguards, right? Bodyguards are that kind of armoring, understandably.
Yeah.
But when you do create safety and support and legitimate structure and stuff for people, they can relax and the bodyguards can drop away. And then you're left with those vulnerable feelings, right? The fear, the anger, whatever it might be. Anger gets a little in the bodyguards, but underneath that anger is the protection of softness and sweetness or really important concerns, right? Worries.
Yeah, softness really resonate, and also when you said safety, that they like, because we spend a lot of time inviting people to I love a new saying that came to me as far as for kids, safety is in the eye of the beholder, and I love that, like that idea of we can't tell somebody they're safe, but we can try to create conditions that they feel safe. And so I think sometimes school staff are frustrated that that we might say, well, I think the student still doesn't feel safe. It's like, well, I create a safe classroom. It's like, well, safety is in the eye of the beholder. And so that idea of feeling safe and that warmth.
Or in the body of the nervous system of the person in it.
Exactly. Yeah. In our, we talk about the interbrain and that in self-reg, that whole, like, get exactly what you're saying, like that nervous system to nervous system, that integrated experience. So, wanting to send those messages to staff, and then I guess down the road, that hope is that experience then would allow them to then offer that forward to the students.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. You can keep going on your own with this. You're revving it up nicely, but let's get two or three more in there and just really feel into the how about for you? So you're doing all this great stuff for holding space for others. What about your nervous system? Wouldn't it be nice if?
Wouldn't it be nice if I felt permission, maybe validation to bring more creativity into my work hours. Right now, I do most of my creative contributions on my own, and then that's just a bonus for work, because I think I worry about the perception of, like, that's not real work. You should be doing real work.
Okay, so and there's lots of different ways besides a marker to bring in, but I'm just throwing a quick marker here. So so instead of the poo-hooing or that's not real work or that's silly or whatever, flip that. How did they respond? Instead of silly, what's the flip of silly?
That my work is appreciated, recognized, and invited into the work hours.
Okay, so appreciated, recognized, invited in. The nice thing with creativity and anything with the right brain, especially during times of crisis, It's very soothing.
Yeah. And I realized that it's all of this from my work team and my teachers union.
Ah, okay, good. So
I have a fear that because when I went to work at the board office, it's still a teaching position, but there is a perception that you literally had people say, you've gone to the dark side. You're going to be their puppet. And it's like,
oh,
no.
okay, good.
And
So
so
flip that. So instead of the dark side, what are you?
So I'd be the bright side.
Okay, good.
And the teachers, so it's definitely the recognition and appreciation would be also those same words, but also coming from my union.
And what does having that kind of support from the union do? What does that give you? I'm thinking
Security.
it's like, okay, security. Yeah, thought it might be legitimacy or something, or a nod, or what is it?
Validation.
Okay, validation.
But security is the big thing.
Security.
Because I worry.
So you're not gonna, if you get too out there, they're gonna boot you.
Yeah, that they'll be like, why do we have a teacher doing this? She should be in the classroom. Yeah, so that security piece and that validation and confidence. Yeah.
It's supposed to be a thumb.
I got it right away. Thumbs up.
Yeah. This is union. Yeah, so you get that seal of approval and validation and even probably propagation, right? Like it gives others permission.
And it would be very freeing because now, just as I'm saying it, I realize there's a little bit of skirting that I do too. And that's part of the reason that I have gone to the pains of keeping it so separate so that if ever anything comes my way, I can say that was my own time.
What's the opposite of separate?
Integrated.
Yeah, okay.
And welcomed. And the seal of approval, when you said that was definitely that would be, if I had that would be awesome. Oh yeah, just looking at that, I'm like, yes, that just makes my heart sing.
Good. That's what we want this to do. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know how much I wanted that. And honestly, I've been hiding from it for fear of the opposite. So
okay,
I haven't even given them the chance to do that.
The opposite of hidden, which is stuff is seen, visible, right?
Seen, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and recognized again, that word comes up again, connected with seen this time in that bit of a different way.
In here somehow.
And then all of that, I realized coming back to some of our earlier points, is that idea of then it would feel safe for me to play, explore, share.
Yeah, your own safety too.
Yeah,
and helping, being able to use these tools to help and assist with other people's safety. Being able to use, and in times of crises, this is where people oftentimes will be more open to more creative and different means, right? Because the usual things aren't working.
Yeah.
So, okay, good.
And in a way, I think part of the process, and there was wisdom in the previous years doing a little bit of that way because it was outside of the box, but there already has been, I think, I've proven myself in a lot of ways that it doesn't feel as scary to go, okay, let's be more visible now because I've got a foundation.
Track record. Yeah. Okay, good. Foundation. You proved yourself. You've done a lot of work over these years, step by step.
Yeah.
Okay, hon.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
that's of help and assistance, and it's
Oh,
codified the energy more for you. Can tell with what you're saying.
yeah,
You
there's a
know,
definite lightness for sure.
excellent. That's what we're looking for. And there's more I'll do, as you know. I'm going to give this a quick save, so I'll do some prettying up and some coloring and stuff. So let me just quickly save this.
Thank you, as always.
My pleasure, as always, and such a good cause. My local school district.
Yeah, there's a connection there, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
Past and present.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do a lot of work with schools. It's all on hold right now, those Pro D days. Some of them might be online. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, changing.
Okay. Okay, anybody as we segue, I'm going to probably go to Connie next. As we segue, anything anybody wants to say to Kristin, to her work, and anything you notice going on with your own system? Any wouldn't it be nice ifs that you could apply to in your own life? Let's take a little bit of that processing of the processing, and then we'll go do something else.
It was awesome. That was awesome, Kristin. I feel like you're where I want to be in 6 months.
Yay!
So that was just great. It was really, and the map, the Wouldn't It Be Nice map is just so wonderful for bringing all that out.
Nice and easy. And just know what I was talking about with the emotional scale. If you're down lower, sometimes it can be irritating to see somebody else do that, and or to try to access it on something that's quite low. So just know if you try to do that on something that has a lot of, I don't like using the word lower, but it's a quick way to say it, more heavier energy, it can take some warming up to do. So you may get your inner critic going, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if, right? And just, you'll have to kind of work through some of that, or try another process until your energy is lifted enough that you can access it. I went with that because Kristin was quite high up on the scale, so it's safe to do that. It's a little trickier for somebody who's in the depression or the anger stuff. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is just the whole concept of there's so much pressure to even be at the same level as the room. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's like even being able to show your optimism is like a dangerous. So thanks for bringing that forward and bringing that into the space.
That's such a good point, Connie. I'm seeing lately articles go around too about toxic positivity, and rightly so, right? Because we need to meet ourselves and meet people where they're at. But there is a place for positivity.
It's not all
Doesn't
toxic.
mean it's not all toxic. It has to be authentic positivity. Yeah. And authentic negativity, quote unquote, right? It's not really negative, but authentic pain. Yeah.
Well, and all the people who aren't able right now to let gratitude into their lives,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's like the first layer is like being able to accept gratitude into your life. So
Naturally, like when you can access it naturally. Yeah. And like the work we did with you previously, right? How you ended with grace, but you went through understandably anger and rage and sadness and grief, and at the end of it was grace. But it's because you met and welcomed all those other layers, and of course it's complex stuff that continues to dance with. Yeah. Okay, anybody else before I zero in on Connie? Go for it, Barb.
Yeah, I mean, I so loved seeing how important it was to get the validation from the union, and how clear it was by seeing it that you didn't have before. And that just is just so much about the visual, the visual effort, that you now have your goal, that was beautiful.